Hello friends, good afternoon and welcome to 4 o'clock fairy tales, folk tales, myths and legends. My name is Miss B. I'm from the Brandywine 100 Library and very happy to have you with us today. We are sharing, let me see if I can get this right. Today I'm sharing a folk tale from India. This is called One Grain of Rice and it is by the author and illustrator Demi. Demi does some amazing illustrations, a lot of gold. I'm not sure you can see that online, but it's nice and reflective. It's very pretty. And we're reading this thanks to Scholastic Press. Long ago in India, there lived a Raja, a king, who believed that he was wise and fair as a Raja should be. Let's see, I'm writing this first. The people of his province, the area he was ruler over, were rice farmers. The Raja decreed that everyone must grow rice and give him nearly all of their rice to him. I will store the rice safely, the Raja promised the people, so that in times of famine, when there is no food, everyone will have the rice to eat and no one will go hungry. Each year, the Raja's rice collectors gathered nearly all of the rice and carried it away to the royal storehouses. It's like a barn or a silo, I guess. For many years, the rice grew well. The people gave nearly all of their rice to the Raja, and the storehouses were always full. But the people were left with only just enough rice to get by. Then, one year the rice grew badly, and there was a famine and hunger. People did not have enough rice to eat. They had given all their rice to the Raja. The Raja's ministers implored him, begged him, "Please, your highness, let us open the royal storehouses and give the rice to the people as you promised." "No," cried the Raja. There he is on his throne. "How do I know how long this famine may last? I must have the rice for myself. Promise or no promise, the Raja should never go hungry." Well, time went on, and the people grew more and more hungry. But the Raja would not give out the rice to eat. One day, the Raja ordered a feast for himself and his court, the people around him. It seemed to him a Raja should have a feast now and then, even when there is a famine in the land. A servant led an elephant from the royal storehouses to the palace, carrying 2 full baskets of rice. A village girl named Rani saw that a trickle of rice was falling out of the basket. Quickly, she jumped up and walked along beside the elephant, catching the falling rice in her skirt. She was clever, and she began to make a plan. That rice is so tiny in her skirt, you can barely see it. At the palace, the guard cried, "Halt, thief! Where are you going with that rice?" "I'm not a thief," Rani replied. "This rice fell from one of the baskets, and I am returning it now to the Raja." When the Raja heard about Rani's good deed, he asked his ministers to bring her before him. "I wish to reward you for returning what belongs to me," said the Raja to Rani. "Ask me for anything and you shall have it." Wow. If the Raja said you could have anything, what do you think you would wish for? "Your Highness," said Rani, "I do not deserve any reward at all. But if you wish, you may give me 1 grain of rice." "1 grain of rice only?" exclaimed the Raja. "Surely you will allow me to reward you more plentifully, as a good Raja should." Very well, said Rani. If it pleases your highness, you may reward me in this way. Today, give me 1 single grain of rice. Then each day for 30 days, give me double the number of grains of rice you gave me yesterday and the day before. Thus, tomorrow you will give me 2 grains of rice. The day after that, you will give me 4 grains of rice. And the day after that, you know how many? 8 grains of rice. And you will do this for 30 days. This seems still to be too modest, too little a reward, said the Raja, but you shall have it. And Rani was presented with a single grain of rice. Now, I just happen to have here a single grain of rice. Can you see that in my fingers? It's so tiny. 1 grain of rice. That does seem like a strange reward for somebody. The next day, Rani was presented with 2 grains of rice. And it looks like the Raja's fancy birds are delivering the grains of rice. First 1, then 2, then 4. On the 9th day, Rani was presented with 256 grains of rice. She had received in all 511 grains of rice, enough for a handful. This girl is honest but not very clever, thought the Raja, after she would have gained more rice by keeping what fell into her skirt. After all these days, 9 days, she only had a small handful. But on the 12th day, Rani received 2,048 grains of rice. It's about 4 handfuls. On the 13th day, she received 4,096 grains of rice. That's enough to fill a bowl. On the 16th day, Rani was presented with a bag containing 32,000 grains of rice. Altogether, she had enough rice for 2 full bags. This doubling adds up more quickly than I expected, thought the Raja, but surely her reward won't amount to much in the end. I think he might be wrong. On the 20th day, Rani, let me go on this side. On the 20th day, Rani was presented with 16 more bags filled with rice. On the 21st day, she received 1,048,576 grains of rice, enough to fill a basket. On the 24th day, Rani was presented with 8,388,608 grains of rice, enough to fill 8 baskets, which were carried to her by the royal deer, well-trained deer. On the 27th day, 32 Brahma bulls were needed to deliver 64 baskets of rice. The Raja was deeply troubled. 1 grain of rice has grown very great indeed, he thought, but I shall fulfill this reward to the end, as a Raja should. He's going to keep his promise. On the 29th day, Rani was presented with the contents of 2 entire royal storehouses. Look at all those camels, each one carrying 2 baskets. There's more camels on this side. Then, remember how many days she had to go? 30 days. On the 30th and final day, 256 elephants were needed to carry the contents of 4 royal storehouses. My goodness. So much rice. All in all, they had carried 436,870,912 grains of rice. That was just on the 30th day. Added all together, Ronnie had received more than 1 billion grains of rice. And the Raja had no more rice to give. "What will you do with all this rice?" said the Raja with a sigh. "Now that I have none." "I shall give it to the hungry people," said Ronnie. "And I shall leave a basket for you, if you promise from now on to only take as much as you need." "I do promise," said the Raja. And for the rest of his days, the Raja was truly wise and fair, as a Raja should be. The end. It does seem kind of crazy that 1 grain of rice turned into 256 elephants carrying baskets of rice. When you look at rice, this is raw rice, uncooked rice. Each little grain is very small. I can't even get it in my fingers. Each grain of rice is so small that even if you put together 4,000 or 5,000 grains, you'd still only come up with a bowl like this. But that is what Ronnie got on her, I think, 9th day. She had a bowl full, and it kept doubling and doubling and doubling. You might not be able to read all these tiny numbers, but you can see how here on day 1, there was only 1 grain of rice. Down here, by the time you get to day 3, there were 536,870,912 grains of rice just presented on that day. So you have to do that, plus that, plus that, plus that, plus that, all the way back to the top. And then you get 1,073,741,823 grains of rice. More than 1 billion. The end. And that's the folktale from India, 1 grain of rice. One of the reasons I wanted to do that folktale today is that it goes on for 30 days. And you might have noticed 30 is the same as the number of days in a month, usually, more or less. 30 is about the number of days in a month. Right now, many people around the world are celebrating a very special month called Ramadan. Ramadan is a celebration where people spend the entire month fasting and praying and doing good work. You might celebrate Ramadan at your house, or maybe you know somebody who does. If you've never heard of Ramadan before, this is a good introduction to it. This is called Ramadan, Celebrate the World, written by Hannah Elliott. In the 9th month of the year, when the crescent moon first appears in the sky, it's time to celebrate Ramadan. Ramadan lasts 1 whole month. It is a time to reflect on ourselves, to be thankful, and to help others. During this special month, we eat and drink only when it is dark outside. Before the sun peeks out each day, we have a big meal called suhoor. We fill our bellies with foods that will give us energy all day. When the sun disappears in the evening, we gather with family and friends to break our fast. We eat a date, a sweet fruit, then we share a meal called iftar. We fast because we know that there are many people who are less fortunate than us. We appreciate how lucky we are. During Ramadan, mothers and fathers still go to work, children still play, go to school, and see friends. But throughout the whole month, we think about what is most important to us. We spend time with family. We pray. We lend a helping hand and try to do other good deeds. Being helpful. When the new crescent moon finally appears in the sky, it marks the end of Ramadan. We celebrate a big feast called Eid al-Fitr, which is also called the Sweet Festival. That sounds like a festival for me. For the next 3 days, we eat and pray and we give each other gifts. Ramadan may be over, but we will remember what it taught us. We will remember to love our family, pray, and give back to others all throughout the year. In the end. So it's a little bit different this year because we're probably not going to school or out to temple or to group parties like we have in the past, but people can still celebrate Ramadan in their own homes. They can still do kind things for others. They can still fast, and they have to get up very early, eat their big meal when it's still dark out. Then all day long they don't eat or drink, and when the sun goes down and you see the moon come out, that's when they have their meal to break the fast called iftar. What I thought was funny, and I just learned this today, iftar is the meal that you eat when the sun goes down, but in English that word translates as breakfast. So they have breakfast at the end of the day in Ramadan. I think that's just an odd translation. It's breaking the fast, having something to eat after you haven't had anything to eat all day long. So if you are celebrating Ramadan this month, then I would like to say Ramadan Mubarak. Have a happy and blessed Ramadan. If you are not celebrating Ramadan, maybe you could just kind of go around your home today and say thank you to somebody for something they've done, or maybe you could do a good deed too, just like people do when they're celebrating Ramadan to help out. You might also see if your grown-up has any rice in the pantry, and you could see just a little bit of it so that you could touch it and feel it and maybe see how many grains of rice you could count before it gets to be too much. I want to thank you very much for joining us today for 4 o'clock Fairy Tales and Fables. My name is Miss Beef with the Brandywine 100 Library. Please like and follow us on Facebook. We will be having another 4 o'clock fairy tale on Friday. Say that 3 times fast. We also have morning music on Monday mornings and Thursday mornings at 8:30 a.m. for our younger friends. It's a great way to wake up. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful afternoon. Ramadan Mubarak.